Hi guys, so new feature, I've been running polls, ran a poll just recently and had 347 people comment, which is pretty cool, at least at the time of me doing this video. So I want to talk about the results a little bit and kind of get some feedback on if you want to see more polls and more kind of interactive videos with you guys. Today, I'm going to be talking about, which will be the first game to get massive units. So basically the three that I asked was X-Wing, Armada, and Legion, and the overwhelming winner with 52% of the vote was Armada. And so what I mean by massive units, we're talking about like really like bigatures, right? Huge minis. X-Wing's already gotten some pretty big minis, right? They already have the huge ships. So I think there's a lot of people didn't think X-Wing was going to get any more, primarily because of the fact that X-Wing already has those huge ships. And also at the Gamma trade show, they said they weren't going to be having another Scum epic, which really kind of upset a lot of people because they're like, wait a second, we've got 2 Imperial epics, 2 Rebel epics, and only 1 Scum epic, and it's not even that good. It's not even a gunship. I mean, I guess you have IG-88 for Scum, so maybe it's not really needed. But I think the other bigger reason that X-Wing might not be getting something huge, and we're talking like a Nebulon or an Architons or something like that, something really like if your Corvette's this big, we're talking about something like this big. There have been stuff like that, but one of the biggest reasons I think is that there's just there's not enough interest in those giant in epic play for X-Wing and in getting more stuff for epic. I personally disagree with that. I think I have plenty of interest in that. That's probably my favorite way to play X-Wing right now. Because it's more fun. You're setting up crazy stuff. And if you're going to be in Florida here this summer at Dice Tower Con, might just see another huge game of X-Wing breakout. We did a huge monster game of X-Wing last year at Dice Tower, like 4 playmats. I'll put a link to it at the end of the video. It's amazing, but I like playing really fun games like that because they're awesome and everybody walks by and wants to ask questions and kind of it brings people into miniatures and Star Wars gaming. So that much is really fun. But overall, outside of special occasions, I don't think there's that much real interest in a game about dogfighting, putting giant capital ships in there. That being said, FFG, if you are watching, maybe run your own polls, and maybe that's the next poll. Like if they were going to do it, and the price point was at such, would you do it? And if not, would you play it? And there's different, and there can be different options. Like yes, I would buy one. But let me know what kind of poll that you think that I should ask for the next one, because I might do one of these like every week and kind of talk about the results with you guys. The next one was Armada. Armada has most of the results, followed by Legion, which had about the same as X-Wing, maybe a little bit more. Legion's still brand new, so we don't really know what all is going to happen. They might announce an AT-AT tomorrow for Legion, but one of the reasons I think they're less than likely to do that, I mean, you can see this AT-AT behind me. This is the Wizards of the Coast one, and this one is probably close to an Imperial Assault scale, but an AT-AT for Legion would have to be incredibly huge, and it would probably be about the size of the old Kenner one, like like this big, like a full blown, like a puppy dog. It would be like a dog on your tabletop, and I would love that. I would love that. Who wouldn't love a dog on their tabletop as long as it would obey your commands like perfectly? All right, don't put a dog on your tabletop. And if you do, post pictures. Post them in my Discord. That would be nuts. Dress your dog up like an AT-AT. Post it in my Discord. Awesome stuff. No, so I have the up in my corner. I think you can see it. Let me grab it because I've got this thing, and this thing works really well with Legion. And this is the old Millennium Falcon. I think this is like the 90s Power of the Force reprint, but it was the same mold. This was for those 3 3/4 inch action figures. These were never made like accurately to scale, but these do feel all right with the Legion scale. So considering that, and I'll probably import one of these. I'll probably use this in a bat rep one of these days. Let me set this thing down. Dude, these are awesome. And so I think the AT-AT in that size would work really well with Legion. But it all depends. Like if Legion's going to do it, they could do a couple different ways, right? Look at the popcorn bucket that a lot of people have floating around from Disney World. That one is really cool, and it's only like 20, 30 bucks if you get it on eBay or something like that. The price point for something like that was really cheap, and you can move it. It's got moving parts. The legs move. Problem is, like, you've got these large bases in Legion, so you have to have your terrain to leave enough room for the bases. If you had a giant base like this big, well, you're not going to be able to have any terrain unless it's just going to destroy any terrain it goes over. But then you have the problem with people who build a full board where it's all one piece, because now you can't just move the cliffs. You know, you can't move the pieces of your board that you build it into. So you really kind of run into, like, this is a hard unit to play. Maybe you can only play it on flat maps. Maybe it'll be something like that. Or maybe it's got individual legs and you can move the legs one at a time and move them all over the place. That's kind of cool as well. I think something like that would really increase the cost, because if you look at the miniatures that FFG creates, you know, and you think about, well, all right, a big miniature like about this big, I mean, the Tantivy was $100, and you're looking for something at least twice that size or twice that much plastic. So are you really going to spend $200 on just the sculpt in this giant mini, but then add all the moving parts? I mean, you're probably looking like $250. You know, so that's one of the things. If you guys want to leave me a comment, let me know in the comments section, like, how much would you pay for like a monstrously huge size miniature? You know, and you know, if you're interested in, like, what is your personal point where you'd say, nah, I can't justify it at this point. You know, where's the point where you're right up to the edge and you say, oh, okay, here, take my credit card. You know, or what is the point where you say, no, I can't do it? Because I think I think that's an interesting question to ask, and you know, because for me, because I love those big miniatures, I'll put myself in debt for a while for something like those. I could easily pay $300 for a giant AT-AT that's going to work in Legion, or maybe a Nebulon. You know, they have had Nebulons for X-Wing. You know, but the thing is, there was a cease and desist order that came out. Like Space Rocks used to make them. There's other places you can still get them now, but you know, it's tough when it doesn't get played that much. Like Epic and X-Wing hardly ever gets played. But for a game like Legion, you're already on that giant board, so you know, it's like it's ready to go. Like, you know, already ready to play that way potentially. This is all assuming it doesn't have some drastically different rule set. And again, since it's a brand new game, does it need a drastically different rule set? Probably not for a couple of years, right? Which brings us full circle down to the winner of the poll, which was Armada. People mostly feel like Armada is the best candidate to get huge, massive ships in a scale larger than anything we've seen before. Armada's biggest ship is the ISD. ISD is not the biggest ship in Star Wars. Far from it. Also, the hints that have dropped have kind of given us the most hope for huge bigatures. So they said last year at Gen Con, there's something big was coming for Armada. This year at the Gamma Trade Show, they were asked about that, because after that we got Wave 7. Because we didn't get an actual preview at Gen Con. So Wave 7 was, you know, came out, and they said, you know, oh, that wasn't the something big, basically. There's still something big coming, they can't talk about it yet. And there's some rumors going around, but the rumors are very like, oh, basically the rumors boil down to, yeah, it's something big. You know, so I have no idea. I don't know if it's, you know, a new core set. Maybe they're adding, you know, new factions. How would you feel about new factions? I think, you know, one way that you could potentially do, like an Old Republic thing, is do a whole new core set, 2 new factions, a whole line of new ships to support those factions, and then some upgrades that can go back and forth. I'd be fine with that. You can reuse, you'd already have some sculpts you could reuse. You could reuse Architans, you could reuse, you know, you could do Venators for both the Empire and for the Galactic Republic. I would be all for something like that. And the same thing goes with Armada, but there's something big that may be coming out. It's got to be the Super Star Destroyer. I think there's a really good chance that we're going to get the Executor. I would love to see more than just that. I really would love to see you know, a sequel trilogy set for Armada with a Mandator 4 Dreadnought. I would like that a lot, because I think that works. I don't think the Mandator 4 is so obscenely huge that it can't work on your tabletop. Some people would argue that the Executor is so obscenely huge that it can't work. I disagree there as well, because Armada's already at a sliding scale. It's not like strictly adhering to scale. That being said, you know, I would love to see the Executor. It's iconic. It's going to be even bigger, so it's going to make your Star Destroyers a little bit smaller by comparison, but it's going to really add some contrast, especially if you see a Rebel fleet swarming around it. I just don't know how you balance something like that. I have made suggestions in the past that there's multiple ship cards for multiple versions. You incorporate a campaign based around it, have an under construction Super Star Destroyer, maybe a battle damaged Super Star Destroyer, and a fully operational Super Star Destroyer, and you know, and you do them that way. We have multiple Executor class Super Star Destroyers that are titles, like we have the Executor itself, you have the Annihilator, you have the Ravager. So those are both all mentioned in Aftermath. The Annihilator is one that was taken over by pirates, so if you wanted to give the rebels, like, they're mostly jovial, benevolent, happy-go-lucky pirates that'll still kill, like Hondo. Kind of, not Hondo, but like Anastasia, I think her name is, or something like that. But, you know, you've got the Annihilator. You've also got the Ravager. This is the one that you saw on Jakku. So you've got multiple titles. If you wanted to give the rebels a version of Super Star Destroyer, you could do that through the Annihilator title. It's possible. Again, you also have the Radis, which is not Super Star Destroyer size, but it's bigger than an ISD. So you could still have a really large ship for the Resistance, and that's maybe if you're doing sequel trilogy stuff. So you have the Mandator 4 on one side, the Radis on the other side. Radis isn't as big as a Mandator 4, but at least you have, you know, big stuff on either side. Granted, the First Orders is going to be an order of magnitude bigger, but that still is really cool. So Armada has a lot of options, and they've certainly hinted that way. I think the player base is ready for it. Armada is old enough that it's okay to probably introduce something big at this time. We've already had the Corellian conflict, which was a significant, you know, change, but it was set to the side. It's like, hey, here's some cool cards you can use in tournament play, but here's a whole different way you can play with your friends if you want to run a campaign. It was received very well. It's fun to play. It also kind of dropped some seeds on us for 500-point games, you know, only in the campaign, but I think that maybe they're testing the waters. Maybe this Super Star Destroyer pack would do something different. You know, I'm just so excited for this thing. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm really excited for stuff like this. So, you know, that's why I post polls and stuff. So let me know in the comments if you want to see more polls. Let me know what's the most you might spend for a new expansion of your choice that's basically going to be like huge, huge. Anyway, let me know what you know. Maybe it's different in different games too. Like, how much would you spend for a Super Star Destroyer if it was really going to be, you know, if it was at least twice the size of the ISD? Maybe like 2 feet. 2 feet-ish, you know, like pretty big. That's pretty big. Might not be able to move in the game. But how much would you pay for something like that if it looked really good? If it looked really good, what's the most you would pay for something like that? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and you know, go ahead and let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know what kind of more polls you want to see. I really do appreciate all the support and all. We got so much participation in these polls too, so it's really cool. So thank you so much for that. You can get notifications if you're subscribed, and click the bell for alerts. So there's that going on, and I think I'm spent. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.